Welcome, Vault Dwellers. My name is Nacho Bidness, and today we are taking a look at Helios 1. While we take a look around in-game, I thought it might be interesting to cover a little bit on how this type of power plant works in the real world. You see, all power plants really operate on fundamentally the same principle. A heat source will boil water, and that water turns to steam. The steam turns a turbine, and the turbine is connected to a generator, turns the generator, and the generator makes electricity. And the only real difference between a coal-fired plant and a nuclear plant, or in this case a solar plant, is that the heat source is different. So in this example of a power plant, we have the sun's rays shining down on a whole bunch of mirrors that are all focused on this central tower. And they heat that up, and that tower actually contains molten sodium, which, if you recall your chemistry, is very reactive in its pure form. In fact, it will explode on contact with water. So that means that the seals on this thing absolutely cannot leak. Now, why they chose to use molten sodium instead of just directly heating water, I'm not sure. I'm sure it has something to do with the efficiency of how the system operates. Nevertheless, I think it is kind of a cool way to generate power, although it has not been as successful as the power companies could have wished. Additionally, there have been some unexpected environmental effects with solar power generation stations like this one, in that when birds fly through these focused rays of the sun, literally their feathers can catch on fire. And the local folks call them black smokers. When I first encountered this place in the real world, I was driving on I-15 south out of Las Vegas, and it happened to be just a little bit overcast as I was headed towards it, but all of a sudden the clouds cleared, and there were these points of light in the desert. You could see them for miles away, and they got brighter and brighter to the point where you could barely even look at them. It was a really amazing sight. And when I got up closer, I was like, man, this is it. This is Helios 1. Obviously, I mean, look at it. But the plot thickens a little bit. For one thing, this place is south of Prim on I-15, and it's about 30 miles as the crow flies from the approximate in-game location on US Highway 95. But I just figured, this is artistic license. After all, it is something that Bethesda might choose to move to make the flow of the game a little bit better. For another thing, there are 3 of these power generation towers at the Ivanpah Solar Electric Generation Station in the real world. But here again, I thought, 3 towers isn't really necessary for the in-game location. This is just in the case of Bethesda taking a little bit of artistic license. But once I started doing some more digging and a little bit more research, what I found is that there is a real-world solar power station at the same location as Helios 1. However, it doesn't look anything like Helios 1. This is the Nevada Solar 1 power generation station, and it's located on Highway 95, somewhat near Boulder City in Nevada. And I regret to say that I didn't take any pictures of this location when I passed it in my travels, because I did not recognize it as a potential Fallout New Vegas location. So I've got this aerial shot that shows you that it's really quite different in how it operates compared to the Ivanpah Solar Power Generation Station, or as we call it, Helios 1. They have these arrays of parabolic mirrors with this bar that goes through the center, and that is what collects the heat. And so, okay, you say to yourself, well, they took a little artistic license with the location, and you just kind of smash these two kinds of places together, and the plot thickens again. Because in my research, I found that they broke ground on this solar power station on October 27th, 2010. 9 days after Fallout New Vegas released on October 19th, 2010. So, I'm not sure if this is a real-world Fallout location or not. My best guess is that the developers found the Nevada 1 solar power station and wanted to put something at that spot in-game, but wanted something that looked more dynamic and looked like it could power a death ray from space after all. And so this new type of generation station would have been in the news. They would have been able to see drawings of it, but it had not actually been built yet, and so I think that may explain some of the more subtle differences between the construction of the in-game models versus our real-world example. As for visiting this place in the real world, you totally can. It is a ways off of I-15, and you drive past perhaps the saddest-looking golf course I have ever seen in my life. It is out in the desert, and it is rough. But there's not a lot to do once you actually get out here to the power station. There's not a visitor center. There is not a tour. There are just a lot of fences. And this was as close as I could get to the actual generation station itself. The road runs between these great big fields of mirrors, but it eventually dead ends at a gate where you have to be an employee to go any further. Now, nothing stops you from pulling over while you're on that road and being able to walk right up to this fence, and you can get fairly close to the mirrors. Maybe not to the actual central tower, but you can get fairly close to the mirrors. I got this picture simply by essentially lining up my camera lens with the chain link fence so that you cannot see the fence. I was not actually on the wrong side of the fence to take this photo. So I think that this would be a ton of fun to come out here and do like a cosplay photo shoot. I mean, just look at this. Wouldn't it be cool to have a picture of yourself in a vault suit or some Caesar's Legion gear or even just some random Wastelander armor with this as a backdrop? As cool as it is to go take pictures in Goodsprings, I think that there are other opportunities that are out there in the Mojave Wasteland that not as many people take advantage of. Final picture here is just something I thought was cool. You don't often get to see weather in action when the ground is this flat. But you can see this front rolling in, and you can see the rain on the mountains that form the spine of the map for New Vegas. And I thought that was kind of cool. It is great to watch the solar station when there's clouds because you can actually see the thing essentially turn on and off in front of your very eyes. So what did you think about Helios 1? Was this a cool in real life location? Was it simply inspiration, or have I got it all wrong with my theories? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more episodes to come. Thank you for watching.